Politics in the United States can be described in many ways. It seems almost impossible to describe it in one word due to its complexity, volume, and stubbornness. However, there is one word I bet Americans and the world could describe it as: unique. Only in America would we have a bickering two-party system, which was gravely warned by our founding fathers. Only in America would presidential elections be decided by the most outlandish and craziest state. And only in America would we elect a real estate and TV mogul billionaire to lead the United States of America. Ever since the election of Donald Trump in 2016, party lines have polarized dramatically, confining most Americans to either be a left-wing Democrat or a right-wing Republican. And that polarization has led to the radicalization of parties, paving the way for extreme tension and gridlock. This gridlock can be explicitly expressed within the legislative branch of the U.S. federal government, which is Congress. The United States Congress is split into two parts: the House of Representatives, where representatives are elected by congressional districts allocated to each state according to their population. The other part is the Senate, which is considered to be the upper house of Congress. Each U.S. state is allowed 2 senators to represent the state. The Senate is very influential, as senators get to have 6-year terms, approve federal and Supreme Court justice nominees, conduct impeachment trials, and have a smaller size of 100 members compared to the House's 435 members. Both the Senate and House have party majorities, meaning there are more members of one party than the other. As of now, the Republican Party controls the Senate, and the Democrats control the House. As Democrats pass bills in the House, Republicans are able to block bills from coming into the Senate. With the majority as well, Republicans have approved 2 Supreme Court justices and plenty of federal judges nominated by President Trump, which is helped by a simple majority vote, meaning only 51 senators are needed to pass the measure. Another rare thing Republicans were able to do with their majority was last year during the impeachment trial of President Trump. Trump was impeached by the Democrat-controlled House accused of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The impeachment went to trial in the Senate, where 2/3 of all senators are needed to remove the president from office. Not only did the Republicans acquit the president, but they also prevented witnesses from testifying in the trial. So clearly, when one party has a majority in a U.S. legislature, they have great power. There is another power the Senate has, which the House doesn't, which has a very underestimated history and power. What if I told you a senator could block a bill from passing just by debating about it? This is called the filibuster, our main talking point today. The filibuster is a tactic used in the United States Senate to delay a measure to come to a vote. To block the vote, senators debate the measure for as long as they want without a motion to end. In the Senate rules, this is allowed, but the creation of this was not explicit. The first U.S. Senate in 1789 included a previous question motion, meaning a debate shall be ended and the vote commences immediately. However, that changed in 1805, when the Vice President Aaron Burr, who was also the President of the Senate, argued that voting to end debate was useless, as it only was used once in 7 years. Without question, the senators approved of Burr's argument and removed the rule to end a debate, thus making the filibuster possible. And right there is one reason why people today have a problem with the filibuster. It was created because Burr said so, without the senators knowing what that power could do. Senators did not realize its power until 1837, when the first filibuster occurred. Senators then became aware of the power it had, since there is no rule to stop a debate, meaning they could talk for as long as possible. However, the filibuster finally changed in 1917, when 12 senators filibustered a bill that would arm merchant vessels to protect them from German submarines. The bill was eventually killed, infuriating President Woodrow Wilson. Wilson then urged the Senate to change the rules to end a debate. Then finally, the Senate adopted a rule called cloture, meaning with a particular vote, debate may end. This rule passed 76-3 in the Senate. During this time, the threshold was 2/3 of senators voting to invoke cloture. Realizing how much power filibuster can have affecting the president, senators then began to really push their agendas using the filibuster and debating in very strange but effective strategies. For example, Senator Huey Long of Louisiana filibustered to promote his populist agenda, and in order to keep talking, Long recited Shakespeare and cooking recipes. This lasted 15 hours. Then, during the Civil Rights era, Southern Democrats began to prevent any racial equality and discrimination bills through filibusters. In 1949, the cloture rule was changed as 2/3 of the entire Senate had to vote to invoke cloture, making it harder to end filibuster. These senators would not give in, as they would filibuster together for weeks until the bill had to be taken off consideration due to failed cloture votes. The current record for the longest filibuster by one person is 24 hours by Strom Thurmond, as he argued the Civil Rights Act of 1957. However, this bill was eventually passed. These were surely the dark times of the filibuster, as the fight for racial and social equality was abrupted just because of prolonged debate. In 1959, Senate Majority Leader Lyndon Johnson then restored the 1917 cloture rule, realizing more civil rights legislation was incoming. Southern Democrats again tried to filibuster the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but failed as the Senate finally invoked cloture. As filibusters really started to pile up in the 60s, senators were realizing another problem. When there was a filibuster, the Senate could not move on to any other legislative activity, thus halting progress. So to resolve this, the Senate moved to create a two-track system, meaning two pieces of legislation or nominations may be considered at the same time. This system essentially accelerated the amount of filibusters that were used, especially by the minority. This rise caused the Senate to revise the rule so 3/5 of senators could vote to limit the debate. However, the rule to invoke cloture was still the same at 2/3, but the number was absolute and not proportional of those present and voting, meaning filibusters still thrived. Filibusters remained to be an annoyance, especially for the executive branch, as they watched their progress slow. However, exceptions were made to filibusters that would eventually help presidents. For example, budget reconciliation was made in 1974 to expedite the process of budget proposals without the obstruction of filibusters. Most notably and recently, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, which was heavily disapproved by Democrats, was considered a budget reconciliation bill, meaning it was immune to a filibuster and was passed by a simple majority vote of 51 to 48. Reconciliation has helped both Democratic and Republican presidents, showing how much a measly filibuster could mess with a president's agenda. There are other exceptions such as the Congressional Review Act, the National Emergencies Act, and the War Powers Resolution, which blocks filibusters and limits debate, as these motions do not have time for filibusters. Since filibusters are essentially prolonged debate, senators can come up with literally anything to keep the filibuster going, and I mean anything. For example, in 2013, Republican Senator Ted Cruz, in his marathon 21-hour speech, began to read Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham.
Sam I am. That Sam I am, that Sam I am. I do not like that Sam I am. Do you like green eggs and ham? I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like green eggs and ham. Would you like them here or there? I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am.
In 1986, Alphonse D'Amato set the second longest filibuster ever at 23.5 hours. As he struggled to keep going, he began to actually read the District of Columbia phone book. D'Amato was back at it again in 1992, as he debated a bill that outsourced American jobs. To satirize, he began to sing South of the Border. His filibuster would last 15 hours. When one person has to talk for hours and hours, they gotta come up with random stuff sometimes, showing another reason why filibusters are so interesting. Filibusters can really be a frustrating procedure for senators, the executive branch, and even the American people, as legislative acts that are abrupted may affect Americans from their needs. Therefore, senators really do consider changing the cloture and filibuster laws quite frequently. Technically, a Senate rule may be changed under a simple majority, meaning a party-led majority can actually change the cloture rules. It can also change if filibusters apply to judicial nominees. Seems enticing for partisan senators who want their choice of bills and nominees through. However, this is actually risky. The majority of the Senate can change every 2 years since debate elections are so sporadic. So let's say you change the rules so judicial nominees only need a simple majority to invoke cloture and move ahead with appointment. Well, great. You got your nominee in, but 2 years later, you lose your party majority, and that party uses the rule you changed to bring in the nominees they want. Your rule just backfired on you and your party. This has literally been done before, and is considered the nuclear option. In 2013, Democratic Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid led a point of order to have cloture nominations other than the Supreme Court to a simple majority. The motion passed under an appeal in the majority of the Democrats. Then, in 2017, Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell extended the simple majority to Supreme Court justices, thus paving the way for Trump's justice nominees Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh to be appointed without the obstruction of a filibuster. So as predicted, the nuclear option Senator Reid started affected his party as well as the Republicans, as they used his motion to extend their own agenda. The filibuster has now become a topic of interest for both parties as the 2020 election is starting to close in. Democratic candidate Joe Biden says he is open to getting rid of the filibuster, but nothing explicit. Trump, on the other hand, has openly advocated for the elimination of the filibuster. Democrats have definitely stopped bills Trump wants in policy through filibusters, and everyone knows when Trump doesn't like something, he wants it gone. There have also been talks and attempts at reform of filibustering as well. First, obviously, is just lowering the 60-vote threshold. Senators have attempted to bring down anywhere from 57 to 51, but have failed. There were also talks of bringing back talking filibusters, requiring senators to hold the floor and talk to continue the filibuster. The rules now do not require this. In 2012, Senator Jeff Merkley proposed if between 51 and 59 senators support a cloture motion, debate would only continue until there is no opposing senator speaking. So, another cloture vote would be triggered with only a simple majority to pass. This proposal was also struck down. Filibuster reforms are quite hard, as you don't want your opposing party to benefit off your reform later, and it does help the minority party a lot, making it hard to pass reforms in the Senate. But both as Trump and Biden are open to reforming or ending filibusters and closures, bipartisanship in Congress may be more prevalent as soon as next year. Filibusters have had one interesting history, starting out as an accidental creation to a power that prevents bills from getting a vote. This ended up being quite useful to people who wanted to push their own agendas and prevent others, such as Southern Democrats in the 50s and 60s, delaying and blocking votes that would have led to racial and social justice. But this is just what prolonging debate means. When you can't vote, nothing gets done, and that is a good strategy, especially for the minority party in the Senate. Both Democrats and Republicans have used the filibuster as a check for both the majority party and the executive branch. And where there is a check, there is power. A power which is quite useful, especially in this time of political polarization and divide. So yes, filibusters may be wacky and frustrating, but the question politicians and people have to realize is, will politicians be capable enough of giving up this power? Maybe so, maybe not. Filibusters can be used for good, and they can be used for bad. But as usual in America, it always depends on your party, and that is the art of the filibuster.